This has started to become a little bit of a problem. Ian Forster, who wrote some things, I'm sure. I never read any of it. Who knows if it's any good? Hello everybody, welcome to I Have Yet to Read This Book with Chris. I'm Chris, that's me. Today, I'll be showing you the books I've collected the last several weeks, added to my giant to-be-read collection. That's right there. It's a lot of books. But I have more to add to that. First, while discussing this, I have this drink called the Brooklyn. So let's start with the books I got today. Today I have gotten two books. The first book I got was The Clicking of Cuthbert. There we go. By P.G. Wodehouse. I've never read this. This is in the Golf series, which I've only read a couple of short stories in. However, I'm trying to complete my Wodehouse collection. According to this here cheat sheet, I can now mark that off. There you go. So, this is... I have over half of them, but there's still quite a bit to be added. There we go. So this one cost me $2.50. Both the books I got today, I got at the local bookstore, where you can use your store credit to get up to 50% off. So it was $5. I spent $2.50. The second book I got is a Ace Double. Both of these are by A. Bertram Chandler. The Inheritors and The Gateway to Never. Those of you who's never gotten one of these books before, Ace Doubles, they are books where you read them one way. All the books are read that, and then once you reach the end of the line, halfway through, the book flips upside down. So you actually have to flip the book like this. They're lots of fun. I'm building a collection. There are a lot of books in the collection, but I have a few of them. Plus, you have some cigarette ads in these old books. Let's see, what year was this printed? 1972. Yep, printed in 1972. They're by A. Bertram Chandler. I've read some of his stuff before. I seem to remember liking it. Don't remember a whole lot about it. This cost me $2 with my discount. These next three I bought off of eBay. One of the favorite sci-fi books I've read recently. It was one of the first books I read to get me back into reading and got me into reading science fiction. Is Prothso's, there we go. Prosthoplus by Piers Anthony. Piers Anthony wrote a lot of books. And so if you go to any bookstore that has a vintage sci-fi section, you'll find books by him. Finding specific books by him, a little harder. So I bought this whole lot specifically for this book. I got it. I loved it so much. I knew my dad would like it. When I finished reading it, I sent it to him, thinking I'd find another one. It's been 2-3 years. Haven't found it. So I bought it. The whole lot cost me $9, so $3 a book. I actually got 4 books, but one of the books I'm not going to read, so I'm getting rid of that one. So for the books I did keep, $3 a book for $3. So Prosthoplus is a dentist who is from Earth, who is kidnapped, and then becomes a dentist slave and works his way up to freedom, and then becomes the president of a intergalactic dentistry school. So that's going to go straight on my already read shelf. I didn't have this cover, but I preferred the other cover a little better, but this cover was nice and easy to get, so I got it. There's this one, also by Piers Anthony, called Var the Stick. There we go, Var the Stick. Two young warriors stave off death in a quest to save a shattered world. Also by Piers Anthony, published 1973. Sol controlled the mountain and Sauce the empire. No one could calculate the destruction which would follow if they went to war. Var, half animal, half man, rescued from the Badlands, was the chosen one. Exiled from his old legion, supported only by his courage and skill, he wandered the earth, fleeing certain death for him and for Soli, the valiant companion he loved more than life himself. It feels like a sword and sorcery. 1973 is a bit late. The third book in this lot that I got was Triple Detente. I don't know. Who knows how to pronounce it? First off, look at those aliens. Bam. Alien, human, some other different alien. Victory! Our invincible space fleet has occupied the monster's world. Victory! Our mighty space force has seized the alien's home planet. Victory! Our triumphant space warriors have captured the enemy system. But then why are we suffering so beneath the tread of those heartless conquerors from the stars? Triple Detente is Piers Anthony alternate to Interstellar Warfare. It's a thought-provoking novel of cultures in conflict and the enigma of outworld psychologies. So, once again, Piers Anthony, some stuff he writes is great, some of it not so much. This one's 1974. You know, he wrote so much, so many books. Who knows if it's any good, but it is a pretty cool looking cover. Added to my to-be-read stack. This next book I got going through, me and my wife sell books online, so going through a collection we got. This isn't worth anything, which is great, so I get to keep it. It's called The Light Fantastic Science Fiction Classics from the Mainstream, edited by Harry Harrison, introduction by James Blish. Here we go, let's try to get it without any glare. There we go. Authors and stories in The Light Fantastic, including Anthony Burgess. He wrote Clockwork Orange, so he wrote this story called The Muse. Mark Twain, there's a story by Mark Twain in here, Sold to Satan. Graham Greene, who wrote a bunch of books, and I've read one of them, and it was awful, but he was very famous at the first half of the century, I believe. Let's see, Jorge Luis Borges, I enjoy it. That's The Search of the Ruins, I've read that story. Robert Graves, E.B. White, who wrote Charlotte's Web. Ian Forster, who wrote some things, I'm sure. I never read any of it. Let's see, John Cheever, Rudyard Kipling, C.S. Lewis, and then Harry Harrison and James Blish. James Blish wrote The Function of Science Fiction, and Harry Harrison wrote the afterword. So, non-science fiction writers writing science fiction, or books that could be put into the science fiction category, whether or not they, That's the thing. You can read some books that, depending on who you are, some people put them into classics, some people call it science fiction. Like Fahrenheit 451, like a lot of the well-known stuff in my dystopian future. 1984, Fahrenheit 451, could very easily be science fiction or, main literary fiction. All literary fiction means is that a lot of people with degrees or who work for fancy magazines like it. That's all that really means. But, Light Fantastic, that'll be a fun little thing. These next books, I have 6 more here, I got at 2 different thrift stores. Thrift store book collections, book sales are great. Usually they're the cheapest you can find anything, but generally they are very poorly, if at all, organized. And they have a lot of crappy books. But, if you're lucky and you know what to look out for, and you keep your eyes peeled and you're willing to spend a few minutes, you can often find things. I got these 3 books. One thrift store where all the books were $1. This is The Ginger Star by Leigh Brackett. Volume 1 of the Book of Skaith, The Ginger Star. It says on the spine science fiction, but I think this is sort of like a sword and sorcery science fiction type thing, or a young adult adventure. That's sort of what it looks like. Where was Simon Ashton? Ashton had disappeared somewhere, somehow, on Skaith, the dying planet of the Ginger Star, and Stark was determined to find him no matter what the cost. Everyone on this exotic planet had heard of the strange dark man from another world, but no one was talking. Not the Faerers, not the Wandsmen, not even the Erinese. All clues led to the mysterious North, a stronghold of the tyrannical Lord Protector, whose impregnable castle fortress was guarded by the infamous telepathic Northhounds. And Stark was on his way, despite the price on his head and the fatal prophecy of a beautiful princess. So, it's the first book of what appears to be a trilogy. This edition's printed in 1979. Who knows if this is going to be ever any good or if I'm ever going to read it, but for $1, I can't let it slip away, because if they did not sell it, this was an independent book thrift store, it would have just gone in the garbage. And for $1, I can't do that. Next book I found was Sherlock Holmes, Cry of the Innocents by Cavan Scott. So Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. I have, looking up on my Sherlock Holmes shelf, which is right behind the camera, I believe I have 3 or 4 books that are in this series. So Titan Books has asked, basically went to a bunch of authors and said, hey, I want Sherlock Holmes stories. So a lot of them are Sherlock Holmes, you can call them fan fiction, written by modern authors, but they can be sold actually as books. There's no issues because it's in the public domain. This is Cry of the Innocents. Definitely hit and miss. I've read 2 of the 4 books that I have that are part of this collection. One of which was a cyberpunk, which the idea was fun, but wasn't very well executed. The other one was just a general Sherlock Holmes story, which I thought was pretty good. So, once again, for $1, I couldn't let this pass up. Sherlock Holmes, I have a collection for, even though I've only read like half of them. Don't judge me. Alrighty, and the third book I got at this thrift store was The Feral Detective by Jonathan Lethem. There we go. And Jonathan Lethem is one of the few authors, modern authors that I have read, who write science fiction, who I just adore. I don't know if it is technically science fiction. Well, this one's a first edition too, 2018. Where is it? Alrighty. The one book that made me fall in love, here, I'll go grab that. Amnesia Moon. Amnesia Moon feels very similar to The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It's not The Road, but that's the book I think I've read that comes closest to it. Dystopian future, where there's little pockets of civilization, and each pocket you get to is different. And every time he gets to a new place, he gets amnesia. I don't want to... It's really good. Amnesia Moon. I read it years ago. I don't want to say it wrong. But imagine The Road, dystopian, but not as dark, although pretty dark. Really great storytelling. The Feral Detective, also by him. Have not read. I've only read one of the books. I think I have 3, so this would make 4. But it was $1. And if I saw this, at an actual bookstore where I had to pay full price for a brand new book, I would have thought really hard and probably spent the $25 on it, because Amnesia Moon was that good. And last 3 books. This was at another thrift store. Paperbacks were $1, and hardcover were $2. So this is, first book is Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Book number 1. Tarzan of the Apes. Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote The Maid of Mars, Maid of the Moon, and then The Man on Mars. He was one of those authors who wrote very early on. Let's see. Copyright 1912, copyright renewed 1939. So, one of the first sci-fi authors. Tarzan, book number 1. This book, so this cost me $2. Melissa Scott, Dreaming Metal. So I try to pick up cyberpunk that I can find. Don't really know a whole lot about this. Looking at it, it looks very cyberpunk. So written 1997, first edition. Now Scott returns to the world of her earlier novel, Dream Ships, and, as in several of her novels, takes up the theme of artificial intelligence. Persephone is a planet racked by class struggle and economic and political upheaval. Celind Fortune is an entertainer, an illusionist who makes good money, but plays the Empire Theater, a venue that books socially controversial bands who attract bomb threats. When she combines 2 advanced computer chips in a new way in order to sophisticate her act, the resulting form of computer life seems awfully like a true artificial intelligence, and this is beyond controversial. It could get her killed. Don't know a whole lot about it. I am trying to build a little cyberpunk collection. Not steampunk. I've read a few cyberpunk, and I have a couple that I have yet to read, and that'll go in that collection. And the last book I got is Harry Harrison, 50 and 50. 50 Stories for 50 Years, a collection and celebration of the work of Harry Harrison. Harry Harrison, most well known for military science fiction. I believe he wrote some other stuff as well. I have the Stainless Steel Rat series. I've read a couple books and I enjoy. Most of what I can say about it is he writes very fast. The story moves very fast. But he's a good writer. He keeps you in, even though if there's not a whole lot of depth. At least in the Stainless Steel Rat series, not a whole lot of depth. But this is a second book I have today, which is by Harry Harrison. This has started to become a little bit of a problem. Even though I read more than a book a week, generally, I collect way more than that. Let me know if any of these look good to you, if there's any of these books that I should try to read next, any books that you want to hear me review or my thoughts on. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.